Hello everyone and welcome to the first ever episode of Rewired. Just before we begin, if you haven't already, I recommend visiting the trailer episode just before this one. It's a quick description of what this podcast is all about, who I am, my goal, and what each episode is going to look like. If you have visited that previous segment and taken the next step to listening to the first ever episode of this podcast, thank you so much. I can guarantee that your journey with me and Rewired will be as fulfilling, educational, and fun as you'd hoped. Now, without delay, sit back, relax, and let's get started with our first ever topic. I want you all to close your eyes and picture this scenario. You're soaring through a limitless sky, and the views from there are impeccable. But then suddenly, the landscape shifts, and you begin to plummet towards an endless abyss. You jump, regaining consciousness, realizing you've just woken up in a cold sweat with your heart pounding after the most vivid dream you've ever had. Have you ever wondered why our brains conjure up such vivid yet often bizarre narratives while we sleep? Why we laugh, cry, or feel intense emotions during sleep? What role dreams play in our mental and emotional well-being? Do they truly have hidden meanings, or is that just superstition? Well, come along as I explore the science behind dreams and dive into the fascinating world of these nighttime adventures to uncover the secrets they hold. Now, with that introduction, I'm sure you all have figured out the topic of today's episode. Today, I'm going to be debunking myths and talking all about the psychology behind dreams. This was extremely highly requested on the poll that I made a couple of weeks ago on my Instagram. Over 60% of you voted that you wanted to hear about the psychology behind dreams, which was really interesting, so I thought that I would make that the topic of today's episode. Now, I just want to warn you all, dreams are a very new topic within the world of psychology. It's extremely raw, and unfortunately that means the information is slightly limited. This means that a lot of the research is currently theoretical, so I want you all to keep that in mind throughout the course of this episode. On the bright side though, that does make this episode a lot simpler to understand and get through since the content is pretty simple and easy to understand. Now, before we get started with debunking myths, I wanted to give you guys an introduction on what dreams actually are. It's important that you guys are aware before we get into all the cool stuff. But just to keep you all on your toes, we will be answering a couple of questions entered by none other than all of you. Questions like whether it's true if we can control our dreams, or whether dreams can predict future events. I don't want to spoil too much, so you will all have to keep on listening to hear the answer to those questions and a couple more. So, I wanted to start off with what dreams actually are. Simply, a dream is a collection of images, ideas, emotions, cognitive sensations that occur in the mind during sleep. But you probably already knew that, so let's get into the psychology and the actual science. So when do dreams actually happen? A common misconception made with this question is that dreams happen at one stage of your entire sleep cycle every night. However, this is actually not true. Dreams can happen at any time during your sleep cycle. However, the reason behind this common misconception is that it is true that you do have your most vivid dreams during a phase called REM sleep, R-E-M sleep. REM stands for Rapid Eye Movement Sleep, and it's the period in your sleep when your brain is the most active. Fun fact, it's actually been pointed out by scientists that dreams had during the REM period are more easily remembered in comparison to dreams you have during non-REM sleep, or NREM sleep. Dreams during the REM period, like I said, tend to be more vivid, but they're also longer, more bizarre, frantic, emotional, and story-like. Pretty much just like that scenario from the start of this episode, or the dreams you guys wake up and remember and immediately go off to tell everyone about. So now that you all know when dreams happen, I have a question for you. How many dreams do you think you have per night? I want you to think about that for a second. So, contrary to popular belief, the average person has between 3 to 5 dreams a night. Some people may also have up to 7 dreams. However, a lot of these dreams tend to be short and mainly forgotten about, which is why a lot of people think they only have 1 or 2 dreams a night. Now, this dream people think they only have one of per night is, you guessed it, the dream they usually have during the REM period. And just to let you know, during the average 8-hour sleep, the REM period could last about 2 hours. Now, I have another important question for you all. Have you ever said the phrase, I don't dream, or I didn't have a dream last night? Well, if you have, I hate to break it to you, but you actually did dream that night. Outside of extremely rare medical conditions, everybody dreams. If you think you don't dream, or last night you woke up after a completely blank sleep, you just don't remember the dreams that you had. That is completely normal though. I mean, as humans, we forget up to 95% of all dreams shortly after waking up. My question is why though? Why do we forget our dreams so easily? The main reason why we rarely ever remember our dreams is because a lot of neurotransmitters, which in simple terms are chemicals that allow neurons to communicate with each other throughout the body, the neurotransmitters in our brain are at a much lower level during REM sleep. Just off the top of my head, examples of some of these neurotransmitters include acetylcholine, which plays a role in memory, learning, attention. Another one is norepinephrine, and when it plays as a neurotransmitter, it is essential for the regulation of attention, cognitive function, and stress reactions. So due to the fact that these neurotransmitters are at low levels when we sleep, and they are responsible for memory and why we remember things, we forget our dreams. Some scientists also believe that forgetting dreams could be the brain's way of filtering out, let's say, unnecessary information, and allowing only significant dreams to be stored in your long-term memory. Okay, just to round up, let's see, we've discussed what dreams are, when they happen, how many dreams we have, and why they're so easily forgettable. So all of this background information, but we're still forgetting the main idea. Why do we dream? So, from recent scientific evidence and newer theories, scientists have theorized that dreaming serves these following key purposes. Firstly, and probably the main one that you may come across, is memory reprocessing. Dreams are extremely beneficial and helpful for reordering, filtering out, and reprocessing memories. This is essentially when the brain strengthens learning and memory tasks, thus helping us develop our cognitive abilities. Dreaming also helps us process our emotions, as they provide and pose as a safe space to experience and process emotions, particularly negative ones, which are difficult to express when conscious, which is why some of our dreams may seem so bizarre or story-like. So now that we have all the science down, I think it's time for the Q&A segment of today's episode. Stay tuned for a special surprise. Welcome to the first ever Q&A segment in Rewired history. Now for this special moment, I want to do something new, almost as a celebration. So for today's Q&A segment, we have our very own Krisha here to answer some questions with us. Krisha, alongside fellow psychology student Falak, are the founders of Psych Talk. Psych Talk is a student-led blog created to look into the world of famous case studies within psychology. They break down these cases, making them easier to understand for a wider audience, and their main goal is to make psychology fun and interesting and to inspire others to learn more. Krisha, alongside Falak, of course, are psychology students who are extremely keen and enthusiastic about the subject and have actually looked into sleep and dreaming as a part of their course and syllabus. This makes Krisha all the more perfect to answer your questions on today's episode. Hello, Krisha. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so glad you're here today.
I am glad to be here.
So I wanted to give a quick disclaimer just to everyone listening that some of the questions entered by you have been answered over the course of this episode. So if your question is not read soon, then I recommend you rewind. It's definitely been mentioned previously. Now, I don't want to waste any time, so without further ado, let's get started with the questions. So the first question that we had was entered anonymously, and it reads, is it true that dreams can predict future events?
All right. So there's this thing called prospective memory, and it's basically you remembering to perform actions in the future. So when we say that dreams can predict future events, you can perceive it as so because like the dreams like separately by themselves do not have any sort of predictive powers. Your subconscious does not know what will happen in the future, but they reflect what is in your subconscious. So things like your thoughts, fears, hopes, and of course your subconscious is what causes you to take actions on things, or like those thoughts can surface to your conscious. So, yeah, it can be similar to a future event that you experience. So, it's usually whenever we say that people have prophetic dreams, it's generally coincidence or confirmation bias, which is when you believe that something is so and your brain finds out clues for how it could be that way and basically finds ways to support that bias that you have, ignoring all other signs, or your brain's capacity to process and synthesize information during sleep.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's your subconscious mind working towards processing signs that have been seen around your daily life to possibly like
Yep.
warn you or let you know of something that could happen.
Yep.
Okay, that's actually really interesting. So the second entry that we had was from Layla, who says, "Is it true that you can control your own dreams?"
When you say controlled dreams, most people think of lucid dreaming, which is essentially what that is. It's when the dreamer becomes aware that they are dreaming and can have some degree of control over what is going on in their dream, either what they are doing or what the people or situation around them is like. Psychological techniques like reality checks and dream journaling can help people have lucidity that is intentional. Um, yeah, so research in this area, and there has been a good amount of research conducted, shows that it can be used for therapeutic purposes, like reducing the frequency of nightmares, which is something that people with very severe nightmares or night terrors, if they're able to have that, like even tiny bit of control, it really helps them to calm their thoughts down, because usually you can be in a bit of a haze when you're in a nightmare.
Mhm.
Or it can also be used for enhancing creativity.
And I've noticed that there has been a rise of lucid dreaming and a lot of people wanting to try it, a lot of people wanting to quote unquote control their dreams. Do you have any specific reason as to why you think this is happening or why it's been happening recently?
I think I feel like if you ask why a lot of things have been happening recently, I would say that the first answer would definitely be social media.
Yeah,
The spread of information and how quickly it spreads is absolutely crazy.
yeah,
Like things maybe in the past, someone would have lucid dreamed, and that concept would have only gotten as far as their town or maybe even their country. But for some concepts like this to go worldwide, it's absolutely crazy.
yeah.
And it does happen a lot. And so I think lucid dreaming definitely has arisen a lot in the recent years because of this. And I feel like it's something that's very sci-fi, and it seems very fantastical to be
Yeah.
able to control your dreams. So I can see the allure behind it.
And honestly, that circles back to basically the purpose of this podcast. I mean, a lot of the content that I will be discussing is based off of misconceptions that have been made in social media because of the discussions that have been made. So I think this answer
Yeah.
was actually really helpful to people who are easily convinced by what they see in the media.
Yeah.
Okay, now to move on to the next question, we had an entry from Helra who asks, "Is it true that people who sleep better are more likely to remember their dreams?"
I think, okay, See, a key word I would like to point out here is sleep better, not sleep more.
Hmm.
So when you say sleep better, that means that you woke up naturally from your REM sleep as opposed to like waking up abruptly, maybe if it's because of an alarm or like some noise around the house. I think that helps you remember your dreams a lot better because, of course, you are naturally woken up and naturally you phased out of that REM sleep and have gone through all of the cycles.
Hmm.
Yeah, but if you're woken up in the middle of it, it just reduces your chances by a lot.
Yeah. So we had three entries from the same person. I guess they're kind of my biggest fan. And we're curious about this topic. So from Diva, we have, is it true that nightmares become less common as you grow older?
I think nightmares are generally associated with children, even if you see in media like movies and books and TV shows, all of that. And that's because there are a lot of psychological and biological factors that go into it. Like when you are younger, you're generally more immature, right? So as you grow older, as you mature, you definitely have better coping mechanisms and emotional regulation strategies. That means that you can when you wake up from a nightmare, it won't impact you as much, I would say, because you will be able to mitigate the impact of the stress and anxiety um, once you have woken up, and that reduces the frequency in the future. And also, generally, stress and anxiety and anger and then more negative emotions do lead to nightmares. And if you are able to cope with those feelings before sleeping, then again, the um, I guess you could say that they're kind of triggers for nightmares, so it's reduced. Yeah, but you also need to remember that the prevalence of nightmares in some adults may decline. Um, Later on, there are some health conditions or medication side effects that can cause nightmares.
So I think it all kind of circles back to growth and maturity and how well you're able to cope with the negative emotions that might um, spur or encourage these nightmares or night terrors.
Yep.
Okay, from
Yeah.
the same person, we have, do recurring dreams mean anything, and why do I have the same dream periodically over years?
Well, I think I'd mentioned this before. Your dreams do stem from your subconscious. So if you are having a recurring dream, that generally means that there's something that's been bothering you, unresolved psychological issues, persistent anxieties, or ongoing life challenges. I think from a psychological perspective, these dreams can be seen as a form of internal communication from the subconscious, you know? So that basically means that your subconscious is trying to give you a hint or a sign that you haven't taken the time to process these emotions or sort through these issues or situations. Um, and generally, when you do have a recurring dream, I find that they do reflect themes related to stress, trauma, or major life transitions.
Mhm.
And they're, like I said before, it's basically a reminder to solve those conflicts, feelings, and yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Honestly, one of the goals of this podcast is to encourage the listeners to improve their mental health. Honestly, working towards fixing these major problems that are happening in your lives, major changes, learning to adapt to these changes. Maybe if you're surrounded by negative environments, people, things like that, I think it's good to filter them out and try and work towards living in a more positive environment.
That would be a great idea.
Alongside these questions answers, Krisha was so kind to bring along case studies regarding the topic of sleep and dreaming. So, Krisha, if you want to go ahead and discuss some of the case studies that you were kind enough to bring along with you.
Yep. So my friend and I, a good friend and I, have started Psych Talk, which I'm sure you've already introduced really well. But PsychTalk has a focus in case studies, and my partner Falak, especially, she loves researching these. So she kindly lent me some of her notes. So there are a lot of case studies in psychology that are related to dreaming because, of course, it's like I said, a really fantastical thing, and it's really interesting to look into.
Mhm.
One that you definitely have heard the psychologist's name, Sigmund Freud.
Mhm.
He did dream analysis. His work, particularly in the interpretation of dreams, which happened in the year 1900, um, is absolutely foundational in dream psychology. He analyzed dreams and he's the one who thought of them as manifestations of unconscious desires. So he tried to uncover the hidden meanings in people's dreams and his own. And then there's another really, I would say, influential psychologist, Carl Jung. He also did a dream analysis. He expanded upon Freud's theories and included and introduced the concept of the collective unconscious. So his studies focused on archetypes and symbols in dreams,
Mhm.
suggesting that dreams reveal insights about personal growth and universal human experiences. So again, stuff that I think I've already mentioned. Um, and then there are the dream laboratory studies, which happened in the 50s and 60s, where researchers like William Dement conducted sleep studies that revealed the relationship between REM sleep and dreaming. These experiments helped establish the importance of REM cycles and I would say the understanding of dream content and the frequency of your dreams. And
Mhm.
then a final study that I think has to be noted is the study of nightmares, which is research that is conducted by scholars like Ernest Hartman, and it focused on the emotional processing aspect of dreams, particularly nightmares. His work highlights how nightmares can reflect unresolved issues or emotional trauma, leading to a better understanding of their psychological significance.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, each of these have their own significance. I mean, the first two that you discussed about the common archetypes and scenes seen within dreams and probably hidden meanings, this is a big misconception or a big topic of discussion within this topic of dreams and sleep. A lot of people think it may be superstition to believe that dreams have true hidden meanings, or a lot of people believe that dreams are only fantastical and story-like bizarre, they can't truly allude to anything. However, there is science that discusses not hidden meanings, however, that it is your subconscious working towards uncovering and justifying signs and clues that have been pointed out in your daily life that may help you process your own emotions. And even with the second two, it's important, with the nightmares one especially, it's important to highlight that your subconscious working to create these nightmares to point out these negative emotions that you may be feeling is extremely important. And it's another sign for everybody, especially the teenagers listening today, to work towards helping and trying to figure out their mental health and well-beings.
I absolutely agree with you. I think it's also really important to point out something that you said was really interesting to me. This research has been done over 100 years ago, and still to this day, people are still debating over it, and that's how elusive dreams truly are. Like everything that we're saying is simply based in theories, and these are the most likely theories. Like, yes, science, physics, all of those subjects are mostly based in theories as well. And these are the most solid theories that we have, but e even if we uncover one new piece of evidence, all of this could change.
Yes, exactly. I even highlighted this at the beginning of the episode. I mean, it's such a raw subject within psychology, even though psychologists have been theorizing since the 1900s. So, honestly, just one more piece of information, one new piece of information could change our entire trajectory and our view of dreams within psychology. But that's probably why it's still such a topic of debate within the psychology community and even just within social media.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. A lot of the points that you brought up were extremely interesting, and I'm so grateful that you were able to come on today and give us some of your insights.
It was really nice to share all of my psychology thoughts and experiences as well as Palak's. We're so happy to be featured on Rewired and really hope that the listeners do check out Psych Talk because we talk about interesting stuff on there too.
Of course, yes, go check out Psych Talk on Instagram. It's
Yeah.
a really interesting page. They've already posted numerous amounts of case studies on really interesting topics, and I implore you guys to definitely check out that page. Now, I don't want to let you guys go with just facts, since at Rewired, I'm all about helping you establish healthy lifestyles in order to slowly but surely improve your mental health. So, since this episode was all about dreams and sleep, I wanted to give you guys some tips for quality sleep to help you all improve your health, habits, and well beings. So, to improve your sleep and dream recall, I want you all to try establishing a relaxing bedtime routine by firstly creating set time goals and setting aside 8 to 10 hours of sleep each night. It's also important that you create a sleep conducive environment, which is a setting that is dark, quiet, cool, and comfortable. And maybe keeping a dream journal could help you all stick to this routine more consistently. Now that you have all this information, that concludes the pilot episode of Rewired. I want to thank Krisha for coming on today, and of course, all of you for listening to Rewired's first ever episode. I hope to see you all soon for more. Alright, that's a wrap for today's episode. If you want to keep the conversation going, you can find me on Instagram and YouTube at OfficialRewired. My email is khadija.farrash@gmail.com if you'd like to contact me there. That's khadija.farrash@gmail.com. Or if you're feeling extra chatty, join our community Discord where you can hang out and discuss this and upcoming episodes, have access to early snippets and announcements, and a couple more special perks. You can find all the links to my socials in the show notes below and in the Linktree in my description. Don't forget to drop a comment, question, feedback, or anything you'd like to let me know of down below if you're feeling extra generous, and if you really enjoyed, a 5-star rating on Spotify or a like and subscribe on YouTube would mean the world. I can't wait to chat with you again soon, and see you in the next episode.